Hello, everybody. I'm Brian.
And I'm Brian.
This is Brian versus Brian, episode 155. Oppenheimer, 2023 epic biopic thriller, written and directed by your boy, Chauncey Nolan. Based on the 2005 biography American Prometheus by Kai Bird and Martin J. Sherwin. The film chronicles the life of J. Oppenheimer, a theoretical physicist who was pivotal in developing the first nuclear weapons as part of the Manhattan Project, and thereby ushering in the atomic age. All right. Cillian Murphy. Christopher Nolan, July 21st, 2023. What's the budget on this giant thing? No way. Only 100
like
million?
200 million, I think.
This one says 100 million.
Oh, wow.
Maybe they're just off. I don't know. So it's got to make a lot of money to be considered a success. But, my theater's always empty as fuck. And it was had a good amount of people in it for this. So I imagine that's a good sign.
Yeah. I went to Fandango before the movie started because I'm just curious about this kind of stuff. And they have this new feature now in Fandango where back in the day, if you wanted to see how full a movie was, you would click on a specific time you were looking at, and you had to go into that secondary screen. But now they just say check all screen times. So when you hit check all screen times, you can just scroll through each time and see how full it is. I was scrolling through the IMAX, and every single IMAX showing of all day yesterday was almost all sold out. It was interesting because then I went to the standard theaters, the standard auditoriums, and I went through those, and there was nobody. So it's kind of weird or kind of fascinating that people decided to spend way more money to go see this in IMAX than they did a normal theater. I was like, whoa, that's kind of wild. Because typically it's the other way around. Most people don't see IMAX, they go to the normal ones. So I was like, damn, that's Christopher Nolan's getting people to show up.
And I know this was shot with IMAX cameras, but when I was watching it, I was thinking, I don't know that this film is going to be that much greater in IMAX.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing about this film, I was like, whoa, that'd be crazy in IMAX. It's just like a bunch of land. It's like a bunch of wide shots when they open up and landscapes and stuff. With people talking very closely together. So I was like, oh, you shot it all in IMAX. This guy is kind of an IMAX guy. He always has a couple scenes in his movies, big action scenes in IMAX. But he shot this one, I'm pretty sure the whole thing. Maybe the bomb blowing up. But other than that, I was like, man, I don't know if this is really that great of an IMAX movie to be doing the whole thing with IMAX cameras. But I didn't watch it in IMAX.
I mean, there are moments in the movie where, obviously the whole real estate of the screen is image, or almost all of it. I think he shot 90% of this movie in IMAX. So there are moments where I'm like, oh, that was fucking nuts. But I almost kind of wish the movies were reversed, because last week we talked about Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible was not in IMAX. I got black bars no matter what theater I saw in. So man, I kind of wished Mission Impossible was full screen IMAX and Oppenheimer was the letterbox thing, because there's scenes of Mission Impossible where I'm like, man, that would have been dope in full fucking IMAX, but not the case.
And it's a long movie. Be prepared. Take a potty break before. And then in the beginning, it kind of, I don't know, it started off really slow for me. I was like, oh man, I don't know about this. This is jumping all around in times and stuff.
It's so messy, yeah.
And I was like, when he's talking, the first scenes are with I don't even remember if it's the first scenes, but some of the first scenes are him talking with Robert Downey's character. Who the hell did he play again?
Oh, Louis Strauss.
Yes. And he's trying to convince him to be the head of some department at the school or something. And I was like, was this after the bomb? I'm having trouble. What's going on here? And then you get to see the star of the movie. What's his name?
Cillian Murphy.
Albert
Einstein. Yeah.
Star of the movie. He's very quiet and hello, how are you? Yes. I dropped my hat again. Oh, feeding the ducks, Oh, that was a really cool scene that plays out and then plays out at the very end of the movie with some interesting information. Man, huge cast, huh?
Yeah, good lord.
Cillian
there were people in
Murphy,
this movie I didn't even know were going to be in it. I was like, what? Gary Oldman? What the fuck?
Josh Hartnett
Josh
was
Hartnett
actually
was one, yeah.
pretty good,
Yeah.
and he didn't have a cowlick. What?
Hmm.
I was like, he did pretty well. And he looks pretty good. I was like, oh, he looks pretty good.
Yeah, I was happy
All
to
these,
see him. He was, I don't know if you're a Black Mirror guy, but the Black Mirror season dropped about a month or two ago.
yeah, I
He's
saw
in
that.
one of the episodes, and that was cool to see
Saw
him
that
come back.
episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Casey Affleck,
Hmm.
Remy Malik. It's not that it doesn't have a very big part, but then it plays a kind of a big part in the story and near the end. Um, who was it? That one guy, man, Josh Peck. I was like, he's in the trailers. I'm like, ooh, Christopher Nolan got Josh Peck. It's like that's weird. Yeah, he's not in this movie. he like he stands somewhere. He flips a switch. I think he might have one word
Hmm.
or something like that. Like it's ready. you know, he didn't give him much of a chance. I'll put you in it, but
Yeah.
you're not gonna talk in the movie. Come on.
Yeah, I want to emphasize what you're saying. Like, I think within the first 5 minutes of this movie, we are jumped into three different timelines, and it's so fucking jarring because you have Oppenheimer in a room full of people asking him questions. Then you have Oppenheimer, he looks kind of young, his hair's kind of curly, and on top of that, you get black and white footage with like that's all thrown at you in the first 5 minutes, and it's like, whoa, where am I? What's happening? It's so jarring. Eventually, the
Yeah,
movie kind of settles into its thing, but it takes a while.
and all the Lewis Strauss stuff is like black and white,
Hmm.
which is I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
That was fun. Okay, and anyone interested, where Tri Cities people came from, and they mentioned Hanford once. We got one word.
Yes.
Yeah, we got one word, and we got the meme.
The
Well, it's
Leo
being
meme, yeah.
enriched at the Hanford site. Oh! I was like, oh man, we don't get
Yeah.
anything more than that. So we were the little jar that keeps coming
Yeah.
up throughout with full filled.
We were the
with
plutonium
marbles.
jar, yeah.
We're the little jar. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of shit going on. I thought Matt Damon was pretty good, pretty great.
Yeah.
I thought Josh Hartnett was really great though. Cillian Murphy was, of course, good. I don't know if this is one of those transformative roles like everyone's saying.
Yeah.
It's like this doesn't strike me as one of those. I don't know. Maybe I need some more time from it and to watch it again. But I don't know. It just doesn't seem. Maybe depends on what movies come out this year. I guess he might have a chance, huh?
Yeah, it's a very quiet and sombering role. It's not like Heath Ledger going into the Joker where it's like, "Hey, fuck, it's not like that. It's very quiet, very so if you're into that kind of role,
Yeah.
right up your alley. No, he did really good. I liked him a lot.
Yeah. It's about him helping to. You know what? Very little of this was actually the bomb, right?
Mm.
Like there's a chunk in the middle where they're building it and they're on Los Alamos. I was like, I thought this whole movie was gonna be this. It's a lot of the before and after kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of Communist Party stuff, some cool espionage shit put in there. Oppenheimer is like just this geeky scientist, but he's just getting laid left and right throughout the movie. And then he's like, maybe he died of a broken heart because he cheated on his wife. He's like, no, he never found that out before he died. And he's just like, he's just getting laid everywhere. Dude. He's like a science, king. I don't know. He's got these science groupies.
Yeah, I think even Leslie Groves calls him a womanizer because he goes all the way like people call you a womanizer and this and this and that. I was like, huh. Yeah, I guess.
It was strange. And Emily Blunt is pretty good drunk. She's just always drinking and throwing bottles and making fun of her being a pussy. He never sticks up for himself. Why would you let them drag your name to the dirt? Do you want to be a martyr? Throw my mini airplane bottle at the wall. Oh!
It's Strauss. Like, it's always been Strauss, and you know it.
She drops her purse, and it had the
The flask, yeah.
the flask, and oh Lord, no, no. uh, yeah, so it's the him like the structure is him getting recruited to do it and coming up through like the theoretical physics and bringing it to the United States,
Hmm.
and then him being recruited to do the bomb, and then the aftermath of the bombing. Um, which kind of the aftermath was the most interesting part. Uh, strangely enough, uh, but the bombing in the middle, or the testing of Trinity. That's the I looked over at Jesse. And I was like, I wonder if Brian's having a panic attack right now.
No, that was actually awesome. That was a cool moment.
I
Yeah.
was like, this is intense, dude.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know how much I like the showing so much of the explosion with no audio, and it's just
Yeah.
just the breathing.
Breathing.
But yeah, then they don't hit you with the audio to the aftershock, but it's a lot. It's some
Yeah, it's almost used like
reverberating.
drum scare. It's like whoa.
Yeah, it's some reverberating in your chest, like vibrating shit. And I just saw it in a normal theater, so I imagine the IMAX could probably got better speakers, huh? Just pounding your shit. Popcorn flying.
And it was hot in that theater. It was sold out. So like all that, I was fucking dying last night. I was dying. Having a hard time.
Sweltering. You got a mister. Yeah, that was really dope. And I just love that. So you're telling me there's a chance, like, when we detonate this, it could set off a chain reaction that destroys the entire atmosphere of the Earth, destroys everything. Yeah, there's a small chance, near zero, near zero.
Near
And
zero.
then, yeah. And what was it? The guy was helping him with the bomb. He's like, well, we just got info that the detonator. They have this special detonator. They tried a couple ways to do it, like shooting it like a bullet. And I think the plutonium breaks up when you move it that fast, or something about that. It wouldn't reach the ignition source, and they were just having a hard time figuring out how to ignite it. So they finally made a condensed sphere, and then they have explosives pointed inwards at all directions, and they have to explode all simultaneously. They have to be like a perfect symmetrical implosion to get it to go off. So there's lots that can go wrong. And then one of the guys was like, "Oh yeah, the implosion device doesn't work." Remember, right before they launched, it's like, "Are you telling me?"
He runs into the tent and he's like, "It's not gonna work."
Yeah, he's like, "You telling me this is gonna be a dud?" Like, no, I'm pretty sure it's gonna work. I don't think. Well, is there information wrong? No, it's right. But I have a feeling it's gonna work. It's like, I'll bet you. What do you bet him? $10 or a month's salary?
Like month salary or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So they do it and it works. Yeah, that scene's really great. Oh, I love that. Don't look at it. Just look at it with your welder's mirror.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And everybody turns around. Ah! Face burnt off. Sarah Connor, Terminator shit. Yeah, they're probably too close. Yeah, then they choose a target and all this stuff, and
That's funny.
and then they
And all the sunblock on him, and the guy in the
yeah,
car.
yeah, yeah.
Some of this.
Oh yeah, it's like
I got
the
glass.
windshield will protect.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's a died later of exposure. It's like, yeah, the glass. Yeah, then you kind of see right after the bomb is done testing, it's kind of when they cut him off. It's kind of interesting. It's like, well, uh, they're packing the bombs up on the trucks, and Matt Damon sees him. He's like, well, you'll let me know, like, when we're gonna do this, right? And he's like, you'll hear from me
Yeah.
eventually. It's like,
Let you know
he's
what
done.
I can or something, or yeah, something along those
Yeah,
lines.
if I can.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, he doesn't even know anything, and he's kind of tripping out. And then he finds out about the bombing, like on the news, like everyone else,
Mhm.
like State of the Union or something. It was Truman. Was
Yeah.
it Truman? Yeah. And that's how he finds out. And then he has a lot of regrets. and he talks about it a lot in interviews about bring what the hell's the quote he says throughout the movie? I've become
I am fuck, what was the something?
the destroyer of worlds, and I'm death or something. Some famous poem. I don't remember what it was. But yeah, he's got these moral obligations, and he feels bad about it as he did in real life. I hear very remorseful, but he never once in the movie or in real life says he regretted it or anything like that. He didn't backtrack. He didn't backpedal on it. He just kind of internalized it. But his whole career after that was trying to like stop the hydrogen bomb and stop everything that he did. So it's like the actions of a man who fully regretted everything he did and is trying to make up for it, but never brings it up.
Yeah, you get that good scene. I think it's after the bomb is dropped, and he's like celebrating with the Los Alamos crew. And then there's a scene where I think it really dawns on him, where there's like a bunch of everyone's like stomping their feet, he's about to give a speech, and as he's giving the speech,
that scene,
weight of those actions are starting to hit him, and it's kind of done in a really weird, abstract way. But
chick's face starts melting, and then and he's just like quiet in his head, like, and then I only wish we could have used it on the Germans. And he's just saying shit like he thinks they're gonna love. It's like that kind of crowd, so he's doing that kind of shit. And that was interesting. And then it goes to him. Yeah, that was really cool. Yeah, but then we get to the interesting part is they try to dismantle him for being not a Nazi, but a communist, because he had some communist affiliations in the day. Never joined the party though. I never got my card. And that Pew character is a communist, and he keeps seeing her, so they know he sees her. And then Strauss comes up with this elaborate plan to put this information into the FBI and to get him kicked off. I don't remember I don't quite remember how he got embarrassed by Oppenheimer, because they were trying to export plutonium or something about energy exports, and Oppenheimer testified in front of Congress or something and got it shut down. Said, no, you can't do none of that. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then there's the line about, well, yeah, that's like saying a beer bottle could be used to make a nuclear weapon. Sure, it could, but it's not going to help you very much, or something like that. And they repeat it a couple times. And what's his name? Robert Downey Jr. was great.
Yeah, he was
really
awesome.
Good.
Yeah,
and he's got some really cool like makeup and old effects on him. Really cool stuff. And so he sets up this elaborate plan to get him not really. What are they going to do to him? They're going to take away his clearance.
Yeah, security clearance. Yeah.
So then he won't be listened to by any government officials or anything, and they can't really take his advice, and he wasn't really helping anymore. He's just kind of a advisor, but then they won't be able to advise them. And Strauss is about to get he was chosen for a cabinet position. I can't remember which one, but he has to go to the hearing. I don't know whether they have the Congress or Senate, and they have to approve you.
Yeah.
And then they kind of cross-examine you. And then that starts getting intense. And who was that? Who was the guy who was like working with him? That actor. He's like working him through that process. Remember? And he's like, yeah, this is going to be the process. You think I'm going to get through? He's like, I think you're going to get through. Yeah.
You talking about the Han Solo guy who plays
Han? Oh, yeah. That's who it was. Alden
Ehrenreich or
Ehrenreich, yeah. Senate aide to Louis Strauss. Yeah, I thought that guy's character was pretty cool. because he kind of is working with him. You can tell and then he kind of turns on him.
Yeah.
By the end, he's like, "It's like you've been lying to me, and what the fuck is all this?" And I love the name drop where he finally doesn't get in because Rami Malek comes in and just throws all this shit at him. And I don't even remember who he was playing. He was somebody. It's just like a scientist. I don't remember what his significance was in the.
Yeah, he always had a clipboard and a pen. Every scene. Wasn't very many. I think he was in 2 scenes, but yeah.
As David Hill. Yeah, I don't know who that. And yeah, he just goes off and he delivered this. He always, ever since he was embarrassed. And then, and so, where's I going with that? Yeah, they got to do the name drop. I loved it. Well, you said I was a shoo and I was going to barely make it in. Yeah, I thought you would. But we had 3 junior senators that switched their vote. And so I wasn't approved. No, you weren't approved. And who was the senators? And they don't name them all. They name one.
Yeah, yeah.
Was a junior senator from Massachusetts. I don't remember his name. What was it? John Kennedy or something. I don't know. And I love that. And Jesse kind of looks at me and I'm like, oh, that's going to be the sequel, Oppenheimer 2, John F. Kennedy. And it's like, then it goes into another biopic, John F. Kennedy. Oh, that's great. And I love how he like opens the door during an awkward conversation to have the like media start taking pictures of him when he's not ready. It's like, there you go. You didn't make it. You loser. And then Strauss was always angry at Oppenheimer, he said, for turning Albert Einstein against him, which never really occurs to you in the movie at all until he says it. It just seems fake. Yeah. Made up, and he turned him against me. He never looked me in the eye again or talked to me. Yeah, and he's like walking by. He didn't really.
That's the one scene.
He's kind of walked by you, man. He was heading home. He's tired old man. You know, Jesus, give him a break.
Yeah,
I hated him from that moment on.
They were talking about me.
Yeah, bad about me. You guys talking shit out here or what? You know. Yeah, I can tell what you're doing.
Oh my God.
And then we later get with that scene, what he said to, what Einstein said to Oppenheimer, and it's very poignant. And he's like, well, you know, they talk about me creating, you know, theoretical physics and all that, and it's like, but they act like I don't know what I'm talking about now, or I'm not smart enough to continue it, or and it's now beyond me. When I started it. And then he tells them, so be careful. They love you now. And then he gives a like, they'll turn on you. What is that? He gives like the Batman speech. It's like Christopher Nolan Batman speech. They'll turn on you. They love a villain. Yeah, no, it's a Spider-Man.
It's like you know, when they need you, they'll use you. And then when they're done with you, they're going to bury you, basically.
What happens when they don't need you, Parker? And then it's like, but then one day they'll embrace you again and they'll love you again. But just remember, when that day comes, it's not for you, it's for them. And then it shows him getting an award when he's like older and he's got the gray hair, and some people from the past in his life that kind of fucked him over at the hearings and stuff, shaking his hand and like, oh, congratulations. Like Josh Hartnett is one of them. Yeah. Congrats, buddy. I knew it the whole time. I love you. And I don't know what award that was or what was going on there, but or even what president it was, but that's pretty interesting. I want to look that stuff up. But yeah, he finally gets exonerated. I think just now in like 2022, right? They finally cleared him of all wrongdoing. I don't know what they even call it, because it wasn't criminal, but they finally cleared him. What do they call that? After death, post auspiciously or something, where so his name is now cleared as not being a communist.
Because the whole thing of like being a communist was one thing, but I think seemed like the movie was saying that they were worried that he was giving information to communists who then would go back to the Soviet Union information about how to make the bomb. So they were kind of worried about whether or not he was doing that or not.
Yeah, well, yeah, and apparently one of them was a spy. That one guy, he was always kind of, well, let me see in this room. What are we doing? Yes. No, 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 no. I just want to see. I don't know. I'm playing with a German accent. He's Russian. But yeah, that was a pretty cool part. And but yeah, they cleared him. And yeah, I don't know, man. It's long. I was watching it and I was like, I don't know, how good is this movie? I like it. I definitely don't think it's what they say it is. This got a 10 from IGN.
Of course it did.
Nope. Of course it did. It's another Breath of the Wild. It's kind of just boring in the middle. In a desert. There's so much to do. It's a 10. It's good. I liked it. I don't know. I'd have to. The whole time, Jesse's like, "Man, I love this. What are you gonna give it?" I was like, "I don't know, man. I really don't. It's not that great. It's a hard. It's I don't know if I would want to watch this movie very often. You know, it's not a very rewatchable. I don't think. I've only seen it once. I'll have to do it again, see how that goes. But for me, it's probably like a 8.2.
Gotcha.
I think.
So I got to tell a funny story before I give my overall thought. I think you would enjoy this. So I had a hard time probably in the first hour of the movie maintaining my focus. And it's because, like, you know, Sarah and I have been pretty lucky with our movie going experiences. Like, people who are disruptive in movie theaters, everyone always talks about people being disruptive. Haven't really experienced that very often. Like, maybe every 1 in 10 movies we see, there's some jerk next to us. Well, last night, sold out. I had a couple next to me that might as well have been having sex during Oppenheimer. So most of the movie, he had like his arm around her. She had her leg draped up on over his legs, and she was wearing shorts or a skirt. It was hard to tell, but he was going all up and down there. They were like looking at each other, making out, and I'm like, the whole time, and it's all happening in my peripherals. I'm like trying to focus on this movie, and I'm like, is his hand up her fucking pants right now? And there was a moment they put like a sweater over his crotch, yeah, and like I was like, is that happening? So that was throwing me off. And then it got even worse because she got up at something. This, by the way, this is all within the first hour of the movie. She at some point gets up and leaves the auditorium, presumably to go to the bathroom. And she's gone for like 30, 40 minutes. And because of that, he is like getting anxious. He keeps looking over. And of course, to look at the exit, he has to look at me. So he's like looking over here. And now I'm drawn into it because I'm like, yeah, where the fuck is this chick? Like, because he's looking up, like it's been a while. So not, like the whole hour of the movie, it's not that I couldn't follow what was happening. I was still like following what was happening, but I kept going in and out because of what was happening next to me. So I thought I was like, God, it's so fucking frustrating when that happens. Anyways, I just thought that was a funny thing. Like typically it's like someone on their phone or someone talks, but these were like PDA.
Real quickly, it just reminded me, I forgot I had one too.
Yeah.
Some guy behind me, I kept getting kicking my seat, dude.
Oh, I hate that.
One time, I'm like, okay. 2 times, I'm like, okay. I'm gonna give him like 1 more time. Ended up being like 3 more times.
Jesus.
So finally, I turned around. Well, Jesse, I turned around. I said, I keep getting fucking kicked. As I'm turning around, looking at him, and it's like this guy, older dude in like little sports shorts, and he's like got his legs just spread out, like, you know, like fucking, he's taking up like 3 chairs, his legs are out, he's kicking them. I'm like, fuck, dude. But anyways, never got a kick after that. He's fucking kicking me. And look right at him. And then shortly after that, though, his phone rings loudly. and then I turned around again and said, "Motherfucker." And I think he got the point. He was not a peep out of him after that.
Yeah, that's funny. You never know what you're going to be sitting next to. It's kind of unfortunate. But yeah, anyways, needless to say, I'm going to sound a little bit like a broken record after last week when we did Mission Impossible, which is that, like, I said last week, I wish I wanted to come in last week and say it was the best Mission Impossible, it was this and that, but unfortunately it didn't quite hit the mark. I feel the same way about Oppenheimer. I wish I could come here and say it's a masterpiece, it's Nolan's best movie, it's the best movie of the year, but I don't think it's any of those things, unfortunately. But I still enjoyed it. I still think it's a good movie. I think out of all, we've been getting a lot of these like 2-hour, 40-minute movies lately, 3 hours, and I think out of all of them, this one felt the longest to me. I really felt the length. But yeah, I think that there are moments in this movie that are like beautiful and intense and engaging, specifically the Trinity, not just the test, but like just that whole section of the movie. I think all of that is awesome. I think the first hour or so, the movie jumps around so much, characters come and go, it's hard to kind of like follow. I think like Florence Pugh is completely underutilized. I think that was his first wife, but watching the movie, you wouldn't know that. There's no marriage scene. There's no like,
oh, really?
For my wife, you can't be a communist or some sort of like indication that they're married. I'm pretty sure they're married. So I don't know. I thought that her character was like really underutilized. I think there's a lot of characters like that. Like Rami Malek, who's in 2 scenes, comes in to save the day at the end, but like I don't feel like it's earned. It's like, who the fuck is this guy and how does he know all this? Like there's no rhyme or reason. He just shows up when the movie needs him to save the day. It's like, okay. And then the Strauss stuff, Robert Downey Jr. deserved. If anybody, Cillian Murphy's really good, but Robert Downey Jr., man, holy shit, he was.
Yeah, and he was like the surprise protagonist. Like you didn't even know, and then he plays both sides so well. It's like, he's bad guy.
Like you trust him right away. Like, oh, this guy's kind of cool. But I admit, like that stuff didn't really resonate with me that much. I think the what do they call it? Atomic Energy Commission, the AEC hearings with Oppenheimer. That stuff I thought was really compelling and interesting. But the Strauss stuff, I'm like, mainly because I just didn't really know who he was, and it was just kind of hard to like, why is this person kind of important?
With the worst John Connor interviewing him.
But yeah, it's a movie that at moments I found to be kind of dull, and then other moments I was like on the edge of my seat, like this is fucking awesome. This is a Nolan movie, man. You really got me. And then other moments where I'm like, okay, this is kind of dragging on a little too long. It's like 3 movies in one.
You know what I think it might be is that he's doing this biopic, right? Mm-hmm. Where usually he does like creative, crazy stories like Inception and Tenet, where he's able to come up with some crazy idea. But I think maybe that's why it might be held back a bit, because he's bound to this reality when that's not really what he does.
Yeah, and I'll give him credit, because I mean, maybe you can a movie. I certainly couldn't think of one on the top of my head. Maybe if anyone's watching this late in the game, if you can think of something, throw it in the comments. But I'll give Nolan some credit, because there are so many people in the last couple months that were like thrilled about, like, Oppenheimer was the movie they were going to see this year. Like, it was Oppenheimer, and I'm like, this is a 3-hour long like drama. This is not an action movie with car chases and this and that. Like, this is just going to be people talking in rooms for 3 hours. Like, why are so many people like excited about? I can't think of another big biopic like this that got so many people excited to see it. So I'll give him credit. I mean, that's got to be just Christopher Nolan, just the name. I mean, he's arguably the biggest director in Hollywood that people flock to go see his movie, regardless of what the content is. So give credit where credit is due. But yeah, overall for me, this is like 8.5. So still positive, still had a great time. I still think it's worth watching. But I don't think it's anywhere near some of his top work, like Dunkirk or Dark Knight. I think it's like mid-tier Christopher Nolan. But again, mid-tier is still really good. Like, he rarely misses, So this is like around like Tenet, maybe The Prestige, like that, Interstellar. He's in the mix of all those four, somewhere in that little mix. So I don't think it's top tier Nolan stuff, but I definitely think it's worth watching. I think it's a powerful film. I think it's a movie that you can walk out and talk about, some heavy shit. I think this raises a lot of like heavy questions, especially from where we grew up. You already mentioned Hanford. We grew up in Hanford, or not in Hanford, Richland, which is the neighboring. Hanford is no longer a city, but the plant's still there. But yeah, just growing up with that how do you say that? Iconography in our town of just atom bomb stuff, and like the high school I went to, Richland High, the fucking logo or mascot logo is a mushroom cloud with an R, or like there's a big mural
get it.
We're called the Richland Bombers, for Christ's sake. And
the motto is fuck around and find out.
And there's a huge mural of the Enola Gay in the commons area at the high school. So I guess it's interesting to like to grow up in that kind of world, and then decades later to see a movie that kind of relates to it and it makes you think and all that. So for those purposes, I think it's worth watching. But again, it's long. Some of it's doesn't really hit with me. Some of it does. But yeah, 8.5 overall.
8.2, 8.5. It's pretty good, y'all. 8s are not bad scores. We're just saying it's not the second coming of Christ.
Yeah.
Like people are writing about. Like it's getting so many 10s and things. And Jessie, she said this was her most anticipated movie of the year. She's so hyped and so looking forward to it. She came out still kind of feeling that way. So, I mean, this is just our personal opinion.
Yeah.
Obviously, these people love it. I don't think they're lying. And they're like, making up these 10 scores. I think they honestly loved it, but I don't know. It wasn't that for me. It was a mid to low 8, like we scored it, I think, which is a great movie. It's just not what I thought this movie would be with its massive budget and all the hype. I really thought we were probably walking out of here with like a 9 or something.
Yeah, I feel like we're pretty on base. Like maybe I'm reaching here. Let me know if I'm like off base here, but I want to talk about Rotten Tomatoes because I'm on social media, specifically like Twitter, like all that kind of shit. And I think that when something comes out and it has like a high tomato score, like a 94, 95, I think Mission Impossible is like a 96. People come out and be like, oh, well, it was good, but it wasn't a 96. And I feel like people conflate the 96 with how critics actually feel. Like, I think people think that everyone's giving it 9s and 10s and 10s and 9s and 9s and 10s. But it's not really the case. It just means that 95% of critics liked it, and like, or reviewed it positively. That's all it means. Like a 7 out of 10 is a positive review. I think even a 6 out of 10 is technically a positive review. And you can see that when you scroll through Oppenheimer or Mission Impossible, these high 9s. You'll see 8s, you'll see 7s, you'll see 8s, you'll see a couple 9s and 10s. But a lot of it's just 7s and 8s, 7s and 8s. It just means that a large majority of people are just giving it positive reviews. But I think people conflate that a little bit. They're like, it's not a 96. I was like, yeah, but it's not saying it's a 96 out of 100 in terms of quality. It just means that 96% of people liked it. But I do think that like our reviews are pretty online with, I have a hard time thinking of someone walking out of Mission Impossible and not having a good time and giving it a 5. Like that's like crazy to me. Or like Oppenheimer. Like I have a hard time thinking of someone coming out and be like, this is a 4. So it kind of makes sense that these are kind of the high 90s. These are very enjoyable, crowd pleasing. Well, maybe not Oppenheimer, but something unique, and I think people really cling to that.
Yeah, and then we got Barbie's already out. We got Turtles coming up very soon. It's gonna be a lot of movie watching to be had. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, I can't wait. Yeah. My anticipation for that movie keeps going up with each day. I can't wait for a good Turtles animation movie. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, dude. I think it's going to be fun. So 8.2, 8.5. It's good. We're not saying it's not. We just didn't think it was, amazing. There's good and there's amazing. 8.5, it's getting close to amazing.
Yeah.
But it's not quite there. It's good. Go check it out. Help this movie make some of its money back. It's going to need your help.
The R rating is a hurdle, man. The R rating is always a hurdle because
in order for this to be successful,
it's
gotta push some tickets, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And good Chris Nolan movie. Go check it out. Theaters, IMAX. Thanks for joining us. As always, we're on Spotify and Apple Music, and always here on YouTube. We enjoy having you. We appreciate it. Please like and subscribe, baby. You know what that means. Hit that notification bell so we can always get on your little ear, baby. Okay, now that we're done with that, until the next Peace.
Peace.